Hey, I'm live. So, and the door didn't get shut, so I'm hearing it. We need the dogs on the inside.
Come on, little munchkin. Hurry.
Hi, everyone. Hi, all. So, did we promote that who is coming?
No.
Okay, so then there's no. Okay, so then no harm, no foul.
No,
really?
Funny.
Okay, so
What's funny is I came very close when I was at
Careful.
the airport because I was going to add it in the Hanukkah post that I set up.
I was going to ask you, did you make a Hanukkah post? Because I totally forgot it was Hanukkah until I came home and there was a menorah sitting on the counter.
Yeah.
So clearly I'm not the most observant of Jews.
Everybody smash that like button.
Yes, and
smash the like button. And if you subscribed.
So we just both got back from DC. Him just literally just really
15 minutes ago.
Not even just pulled up in an Uber. So from going up and going to the Tim Pool show.
Yeah.
And that was a really interesting experience. Well, first of all, I have to say that the traveling in and of itself during COVID does leave a lot to be desired.
It does.
And well, on the way up, I will say JetBlue was great. They left middle seats open. And then on the way back, we were sardines. And by the way, shout out to Sheila Sherfilis McCormick, who was on my flight coming home. And I didn't even recognize her. I felt part of it is that, when you see somebody, but not where you're normally seeing them. Like,
they got the mask on.
Right. She had her mask on. She's sitting in her seat and she's like, "Hey, Jed." And I look at her and it's just like this nice lady just sitting there. I'm like, "Hi," and I've met so many people. So I'm like, "Hi." And I'm putting up my luggage and thing. And I'm like, "Do we know each other?" And she's like, "It's Sheila." And she pulled her mask down. And it was a little bit funny, but anyway. And so that was cool. But she said that flight's not normally like that. So I don't know what the deal was.
No, but unfortunately, flying to DC or flying to Fort Lauderdale is never easy. It's one of those destinations that always is got way too many people heading in that direction, and that's it's to be expected in some ways.
Hit the like button, people. So
yeah.
It is also possible that people are watching on not YouTube, in which case is there still a like button? See, I don't know how all that works.
No, yes, the like button is YouTube. That's primarily where we want people to hit the like button as well.
But if people are watching on
yes.
whatever, if they're watching on Twitter or Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Riley. So what'd you think of the Tim cast? I got to tell you, first of all, Tim Pool's a really nice guy.
Hey, Ryan.
He really is. Tim
Yes,
Pool's a really nice guy. So you know what? I am so sick of people just being so labeling and divisive. And that's something I really want to talk about. It's so just wasteful of time to be so labeling and divisive and have purity tests for everybody. And if somebody just steps out of line on one issue that you don't agree with, then that's it. They're done. And I find him to be somebody worthy of intelligent discourse. And, that's really what it comes down to for me. I wouldn't go on somebody's show where I thought it was just a circus and, that there was no value to be had. This is somebody that, while you might not agree with on policy, adds very valuable discourse to our world here. So I have no problem going on and talking with people. And quite honestly, we agree on a lot of things. It might even be more than half. Like it might, we agree. There's definitely that libertarian streak and very,
there's, and again, a lot of his audience, the ones that are rabid commenters are very pro-Trump and they don't like
apparently they were mean to me last night and I wasn't paying attention, but Alyssa, who is my girl, she texted me this morning and said, I was getting so mad and getting in that chat. And I'm like, I said, you can't do that. But apparently they were calling me Karen.
Well, yeah.
I guess I'm like Karen. Okay, I will own I'm the demographic of Karen.
Yeah, but you're not.
I'm the demographic of Karen, but I am not Karen.
No, Karen Wasserman Schultz is Karen.
Karen. So we had a good time. And also the whole crowd at Tim Pool's operation there. Everybody was super nice and very warm. And
we have to stop looking. Place. You have to stop looking for reasons to not get along with people.
Yeah, he was honestly,
because I got news for you. This is a group of people that may have voted for Trump, but you better believe that you can present the argument to them on Medicare for all, and they would very well come along with it. So, that's it goes without saying that it matters.
Yes, happy Hanukkah to all. Happy Hanukkah. I don't celebrate as much as I used. Like we used to do it, and I've definitely kind of steered. I've become so much more secular that I just don't do it. But Yeah, it's it lost something for me a while ago.
I was brought up with both holidays, and as far as I'm concerned, it's about giving back. That's really what it's supposed to be, and I think we've kind of lost that, and especially at a time like this right now, where we really need to be looking out for each other. To me, Hanukkah, like Christmas, is it's the time to remember that your friends and family, how important they are. And also remember that we're really not that different from one another. We do have our differences, there's no question. But like I always say in politics, most of the time we're divided on wedge issues but
that's what they keep
emotional divide lines.
And those are thrown out on purpose to do that, which is, what we can't let that happen.
No, and I think that that's what the overall experience from going on Tim Pool's show really was about, which is, can you bridge that divide? And overwhelmingly, the people that were watching were all saying universally the same thing, which is, I may not agree with you on everything, but I can definitely find things that I can agree with you on, and you're definitely somebody that I can have a conversation with politically and reach a certain agreement point. And that's not something that most people are willing to do. That in itself is that is a big mistake. And there were even people coming on, the threads and saying, how could you go on Tim Pool? He has on these crazy people. And
we knew that though. Like we knew that we didn't put it out there far in advance that I was going on there. We knew that we would get some sort of flack for that. But I always maintained I would go with anybody if there was reasonable conversation to be had.
Correct.
And it wasn't just for a theater, because every additional person you reach, every new audience you reach is one more person that you can sort of bring into the fold of working towards this greater mission, which is primarily getting money out of politics and just getting back to representation of people and not corporations. So that's really what we're about. And, we do agree on a lot of that stuff. I know people don't, well, I'm sorry when I called him an apologist. Well, he does seem to do that quite a bit. And that's fine. I just call it like I see it, but I don't sit there and hate on Trump.
No,
it's just not.
If he does something wrong, then you call him out for it.
Yeah.
And vice versa. If he does something right, like if he pardons Julian Assange, he's going to get the credit that he should get.
Yeah.
No matter what anybody else thinks, because if you think censorship is bad now, you wait till Biden's in the White House. It's going to get really bad because, and I know a number of people have made videos recently about how CNN is already covering for Biden with every one of his cabinet picks. Like, you're not even allowed to criticize them. What is this nonsense? I mean,
although you see people like Bernie sort of tiptoeing around the issue, like, well, I'm pleased that he picked so-and-so, but I still don't see any real progressives on it. Like, he's just,
Thank you, Phil. So you got somebody who says your interview was the best.
Oh, thank you. That's so nice. Yeah. You know what? Because I really do believe this. And this is why I was able to get an endorsement from Andrew Yang and someone like Marianne Williamson, because I have this theory that people can be reasonable and have a discussion and reach an agreement and give and take. And we end up not doing that because we get stuck on wedge issues and we get stuck with labeling and all of this stuff. And so, most people actually do kind of agree when we're given issues to talk about. Most people in this country support single payer healthcare. Most people support $15 minimum wage. Like, there's a lot of things. So it's frustrating.
Well, that again gets back to,
you want to start?
Well, yeah. Well, but again, it gets back to why we are divided, and they're going to find any which way to keep it that way. And, I would say one of the most important people that, supports Jen and vice versa is who I feel was always the best leader of the progressive movement over the last 5 years.
Yeah. So this is very exciting for us. It's very exciting. Do we know how that works time wise?
I don't know. So we're talking about Nina Turner.
People don't know. Hold on. I got to do it. I'm going to do it. So, Riley, you are right. And basically, the Democrats have been using Russia as a smokescreen for almost 4 years now.
Correct.
So that they don't have to be accountable.
Yeah, but again, most people can. Yeah, but everyone in politics has short-term memory. They do not remember what happened 5 minutes ago, and that actually is a good segue into what we will be discussing shortly thereafter.
This is what we're talking about, people.
The hell-raising humanitarian.
We're talking about.
Yeah.
Our friend is running for Congress. So what is it? It's Marcia Fudge is being appointed to, what is it? Health and Human Services?
Yeah, Health and Human Services. It may be the one truly good appointment that Biden has put forward.
Yeah, well, you know what? And I like Marcia Fudge.
Yeah, no,
I
she's
do.
Good.
She was actually, I spoke with her when she was down here for that whole election integrity hearing at the Broward County.
Yeah, no, she's good people. I mean, listen,
yeah, she was fine, but she's not Nina Turner.
No, there's only one Nina.
Everybody, I messaged Nina last night. I told her that Team Nina South Florida is at her disposal and is ready to help. And she was very appreciative and will be reaching out soon. So this is very exciting for us.
Yeah, I know that there have been a number of volunteers for GenCore that have already been putting in the message chat that you want to try to set up some type of a caravan to go up to Cleveland. We will work on something.
We'll talk about that.
We'll figure out what's going to be.
What her people want to do.
Yeah, we also have to know what the date is. We don't know it yet. The whoever the governor is, don't remember his name. The governor of Ohio will institute the primary date. My guess is that it's probably going to be sometime in March.
But yeah, I mean, everybody.
It's going to be quick. It's going to be maybe 90 to 120 days, give or take.
Which is great.
That you much rather do it that way because Nina will have a fundraising army.
Nobody will be distracted by anything else. And
there's nobody that's going to be even close in terms of name recognition.
This is basically, it's her job if she wants it. That's really what it comes down to.
Well,
especially since that's her district. It's not like foreign people.
But I will say this. I will love to see how hard the Democratic establishment is going to try to push against her.
I
don't know about that. I don't know about that.
I think it's too tenuous right now, especially given all the complaints about his cabinet. I think that they know that Nina is untouchable.
Well, I think they'll be silent right now, at least until January 5th, depending on the outcome of the Georgia Senate runoff elections.
I think that they
post that.
I think he picked Kamala. He's putting together this cabinet. They're not doing anything we want them to do. None of these things are happening. But I think if they were to go after Nina, I think that would be kind of like that would be the end for.
Yeah, but I wouldn't put it past them. I just wouldn't. I think that
we are obviously Team Nina, so that's that. So
I could tell you that the K-Hive will definitely be coming after her.
It's what, Ohio 10?
Ohio, guys, is it the Ohio 10th Congressional District? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And listen, she is the type of person that will not hold anything back. She is a very, she is a.
And by the way, don't think it escaped me that she uses purple.
No, of course. Well,
and that her purple is very similar to my purple.
Hey, Debbie Wasserman Schultz tried to use purple, so
yeah, whatever. She doesn't use her. All right. No. So what do you want to talk about next? Should we talk about the aging? Speaking of Congress, sort of.
Well, it's kind of like the good segue, which is, we talk about the problems that go on in politics right now, and everybody has a short-term memory. They can't remember something that happened 5 seconds ago. So unfortunately, right now, we have to talk about a person that we don't particularly like in politics, and that's Senator Feinstein from California. And she is not having a very happy Hanukkah right now with everybody coming down on her for the fact that she's got.
This is sort of the problem, though.
Yes,
is that she's obviously. And now it's coming up that people have been covering for her for a while.
Oh yeah,
which doesn't surprise me.
No, but that's what. But again, you have this false pretense about it's one person. It's not.
Story.
It's all about whether or not you have to understand that it's not just one elected official. It's a commodity. It's a machine. Diane, for example, just sits at the top. So and if you're a senator from California.
I urge people to go and look at the video of her from whenever that was in the past couple of days where she was posing questions and literally repeated the same exact question verbatim, read it again as if she hadn't even asked it like minutes later.
Right.
And so, the question becomes, and this, of course, leads into the concept of term limits, which is, an issue that where the left generally dislikes me on, because I support it because we have such messed up elections. If we had really legitimate, fair elections, then we wouldn't need term limits.
No.
But we don't. So I look at that as, at this point, that is something that can help solve a problem. But I would like to point out that my friend Bo of the Fifth Column, who is my like guru, made a very good point, which is that when you have term limits and people are in their second term, they have accountability to nobody because
Correct.
they have they're not going to necessarily have to be reelected, and they could basically scoop all the money on their way out the door. So it could become a revolving door of skank, which, you know, is basically, you know, what it is. But I think that it's like you wouldn't ever want to say age limits because you get in trouble. Like when you can't even question when people need to renew their driver's license.
But again, Feinstein has been in politics for, I think, like 50 years.
And she's pushing 90?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, and again, everybody is different. But when people start to notice that somebody is not all there is an obligation. This is not okay for people that are having cognitive impairment or significant memory issues or whatever it is, that when you are no longer capable of doing your job, you need to nicely resign and recognize that. And the entitlement.
You're asking people who are borderline sociopaths to give up power. That's a problem. And again, I subscribe to term limits because this is not supposed to be a career. This is supposed to be a term of service. And there's a very big problem because it's ironic. I was going to take a picture today when I was walking to the train and I walked to K Street, and it's like, there is no separation. You can be in the public and the private sector, and that crosses over an ungodly amount when it comes to politics.
And they just go in and out. And by the way, on a local level, we have very much of that in Florida. It's a microcosm of it. So for example, the very traditional thing here in Florida is we do actually have term limits in our legislature. So a lot of the people, what they'll do is they'll go to the Florida legislature, they'll serve in the House, and they'll serve in the Senate, then they'll term out of there, they'll come home, they'll go on a city commission, they'll rotate through there. And basically we've been dealing with the same incestuous, basically slime pool of corruption in our area for decades, and they just keep revolving around from state to local.
Debbie sits at the top, but she's not the only one. I mean,
it's
an ongoing problem.
It's a real problem.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and what is your next story is about the death penalty case? Yes.
Yeah. So
so this is important to me.
This is a very big issue because obviously criminal justice reform is something that, Jen campaigned very hard on. And obviously it's very important, especially down here. We've got a lot of problems in the state. Florida's the #1 state in the country for for-profit prisons. And the other issue, of course, is I think Florida is like 2 or 3 in terms of executions. This is not a Florida execution, but Brandon Bernard is somebody who they are trying to get. I know Kim Kardashian was she's definitely
that's the reason it's in the news, because we do this all the time and nobody cares.
That's true. But when a celebrity does it, now all of a sudden people care. So this gentleman, committed murder, whatever the circumstances are. The issue here, I think, is really about whether or not the death penalty makes any sense from a economic standpoint.
No, and you know what's interesting? Like, why are we? See, it's weird to me. I knew that in 1988. I remember writing a piece on it for my high school newspaper, the pros and the cons of the death penalty. And I remember then knowing that it wasn't the way to do it.
Well,
so
people want.
Are we like?
No, because we're a bloodthirsty culture, and that's part of the.
I could have told you a long time ago. It's infinitely more expensive to kill people than to not. But more importantly, it's just I've always been opposed to it. Like it just does not sit right with me. I've seen it so inequitably applied. It is so discriminatory. It's just not, the system is not working. That's the same thing as how I feel about term limits. If the system worked perfectly, then maybe I wouldn't necessarily have such a
No, I mean, listen, you wouldn't.
To me, it's still amoral, by the way, but you wouldn't necessarily find it so inequitable, but it is.
No.
And it's a problem.
No. And of course, remember, if you did have fair and free elections, if you had a campaign finance system that was even-handed, you wouldn't necessarily need term limits because the person would have to be earning their position. They wouldn't just be able to buy their position.
Well, and if you knew that somebody was having a fair trial and proper representation and there wasn't racial discrimination,
correct,
then that might change how some people feel. I mean, because I do know people that their problem with capital punishment is that it's not equitably applied.
Correct.
That is one of my problems with it. And I just find it amoral. But that is actually one of the things where I know I'm not in with the majority of people. I do recognize that. But in any event, it is so improperly applied that it's just not, it's not good. I want people to understand what I mean when I say like ineffective assistance of counsel. So the Supreme Court case on this found that a lawyer sleeping at the defense table and or intoxicated and passed out did not constitute ineffective assistance of counsel. Yeah. So when you see things like that, you know that this is just not, it's not equitable. So
no, the system doesn't work. And again, for-profit corrections makes absolutely no sense. And of course, as we know, whether a person is guilty of murder, they can sit on death row for 30 years. If anybody knows what it costs to house somebody on death row, it is such a waste of.
But we know why we like that, though.
Well, again, we have it's a for-profit motive.
It is.
You have attorneys that make a lot of money. It is a cottage industry.
It's bad.
It is. But again, if you take away the for-profit motive out of corrections, you also wouldn't have attorney generals like Kamala Harris making nefarious deals with prisons to employ slave labor.
Well, that's the thing. This is the extension of slavery. I mean, it really is. I mean, our incarceration, our corrections is modern day slavery. There are way too many people incarcerated that ought not be incarcerated for a variety of reasons.
Nonviolent drug offenders.
Nonviolent drug offenders. But I mean, whether it was in a really ineffective assistance of counsel, there are a myriad of reasons, but I bet you it's about a third. I bet you a third of the people that are incarcerated ought not be, or have served ridiculously overlong sentences for things that they shouldn't still be sitting there for.
Well, again, that's another problem with the for-profit system is, you get paid money.
Yeah.
And again, whether it's our Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz or a lot of other people that take ungodly amounts of money from Geo Group, for example, they get paid to put people in prison.
Yeah. And this also, by the way, transfers to immigration detention centers. It's the same thing. So it's the same profit motive. And actually what's even a little bit scarier to me, if you can believe that, about immigration detention centers is that since they're not citizens, it's like we have basically like mini gitmos like all around where people don't get given translators. They don't get fair access to their attorneys. They are there for so much longer than anybody would need to be there. And I'm talking about nonviolent people. These are people that were just improperly here.
Correct.
Like my friend Emily, who got deported to Venezuela, who is like it's so upsetting to me. Like,
and then when you hear
then
when you hear about people advocate for Juan Guaido I mean, listen, we don't support Maduro, but you have to have a foreign policy of, unless somebody is literally pointing a cruise range missile or a nuclear weapon at us.
Yeah. Well, and for me, it also comes down to if there's a genocide.
That is correct.
Ironically, we're assisting the genocide.
Right, because we're putting sanctions on them and strangling them to death.
Well, I was even talking about Yemen, but yeah, we could talk about Venezuela.
Correct.
The kids today, I did this thing today called Pizza and Politics, which I think when it was in person, there probably is pizza.
A lot more, yes.
But this was Pizza and Politics over Zoom, and it's kids. Well, to me, I think at this point, anybody like under 30 is a kid, but it's like kids. And it's just sort of an introduction as to why they should get involved, what they should know, like how to, what to know about the political system and stuff. And they were asking me about Venezuela. And it's just very, people don't know because this is not how it's covered. And actually, the only person who's ever been honest about it is Trump.
We totally went in for the oil. We went in for the oil. You got to give us the oil.
And
we're totally there for the oil. You got to give it to us.
I actually do appreciate that. But yeah, the Venezuela. Yeah. Thank you for telling us that. He said it about Syria too. I appreciate it.
Well, again, that's the reason they don't want him. And my issues with him as president is all about policy, specifically the environment. But the powers that be did not want him in because he didn't protect the machine the way that you're supposed to. Somebody like Joe Biden, unfortunately, is going to protect the machine because he doesn't really, I mean, at this point, who knows how much is there, there's no there, if you will. But right now, he's still not president yet. He is in the transitional period, but Trump is finding every which way to try to drag this thing out, which is so ridiculous at this point because you've got people, we're literally 2 freaking weeks away from Christmas and people cannot afford to live. They're going to get kicked out of their homes on New Year's. People do not have another surplus check coming, although we have to give credit where credit's due. Bernie is actually fighting very hard right now, delaying the bill from being passed because he's trying to get the $1,200 stimulus check in there, our second one. Hey, you know what? We beg for our breadcrumbs.
No,
just a smidgen,
pathetic.
just
it's
a smidgen,
pathetic.
please.
And at this point,
But the truth is, Trump doesn't want to either. He doesn't want to accept it, or he's just trying to get as much money out of his base as he can.
But this whole lawsuit thing that is now really brewing, and it's not really being covered that much.
No.
And I'm not talking about all his little cases that have been dismissed.
Just remember, if this lawsuit goes on, it could actually, I believe, could it delay Biden's inauguration?
I don't know. But so now, so basically, if you're watching just regular news, you're hearing that all of his state cases keep getting thrown out because they have been.
Correct.
But in the meantime, 14 states?
No, 17. Or is it 18 now? 18 states
plus
now.
Donald Trump.
Yes.
Are now suing the states. Are they suing all four of the states?
Well, no, my understanding, if anybody in the chat, Ryan Sullivan, you may have some information on this. Apparently, I believe there is a lawsuit in Texas.
But they're suing one state from another.
Yes, and then there are, I believe what happens is other states can join in on the Texas lawsuit. And what they're trying to do effectively is nullify the results in the 4 swing states that decided the election.
So what we have here, to me, and I keep forgetting to bring my little Constitution back over here. So this is a problem.
I can grab it.
No, it's right over there. This is a violation of, I'm gonna say, Article 4, and I'm gonna go get it. Well, but this is a violation of full faith and credit. This is not constitutional. How can one state sue another state about that state's procedures, which are different from this? That you cannot do that.
Yeah, I thought I had it right, Ryan. 18 states are suing the 4 swing states to nullify the results.
I don't see how this works.
But constitutionally speaking, it is a
yes, it's Article 4. I'm correct.
Okay,
it is Article 4, full faith and credit. I don't see how this works. I don't know of a case where one state has been able to sue another state based on that state's own laws. I don't know of such a thing happening. So it might seem like a massive thing that's going down, and I appreciate that's very dramatic. But I think it's almost for the image. It's like it's almost gimmick-like. I cannot see how this can go anywhere.
Which does make you wonder, what is his end game? I mean, obviously, if the intention is just to prolong this, but again, my attitude is this. There is no question that cheating goes on in elections in this country. You'd have to be completely naive and completely on the blue pill, if you will, if you think that that's not going on. However,
she says she can still.
If there are, if there is still, let's put it this way. If there is still the prospect of what do we do going forward and how do we make this change possible? If Trump cared one iota about anybody but himself, let's just be clear about this. He's not talking about any solutions. One of the solutions that we do have, if we want to have more fair and free elections in this country, is move to hand-marked paper ballots. We have to have that. If we don't have hand-marked paper ballots, there is no paper trail. There's no way to verify. I don't want to vote on a voting machine. Who the heck knows what's going to happen? We all know that the voting machines are owned by special interest groups.
Like 2/3 of the voting machines in this country is the same company. And it's just, and here in Florida, by the way, when you do get a recount, they're still just running the ballots through the same machines.
Correct.
They're just doing it again.
And the Diebold voting machines, which are, they were owned by George Soros. Listen, for us, this is not a partisan issue.
No.
It's not supposed to be. No one trusts elections in this country. And frankly, I don't know, the international organization says we have the worst election process in the world. There is nothing worse than what we do here. It is completely dishonest. And again, this also speaks to a larger issue, which is the fact that everyone knows that there was nefarious dealings going on in the 2016 primary, whether you want to put it all on Debbie Wasserman Schultz, you want to put it on the Clintons, whatever you want. But the reality is Bernie was cheated in 2016, and he never spoke up about it to the extent of saying, we have to change the electoral process in this country.
But it's just it really is like almost stale that the matter who wins, it's this cheating. So it's like, okay, so there was cheating when Trump won and the Democrats are upset he's not our proper president. And so now they're saying the Republicans are not going to be happy with this election. And we're just going back and forth. And then each new president comes in and just undoes what the previous president did. This is sort of like when you pick a new class president every year. And they just, this is how juvenile and petty all this stuff is. Like
Correct.
They literally do things just to spite the person that was there.
And and all the while we do have these very serious problems that they don't want to talk about. This is why most people don't want to get involved in politics, because they don't trust the process. And quite frankly, I don't blame them. Why would you trust the process? What is to say that there aren't major issues that go on? And for those that don't think ballot harvesting goes on, you better believe it goes on. You better believe that they bundle votes, that they have a way to figure out exactly who hasn't voted yet, that they get what they need to get.
We actually found out how they do it.
I've now been informed this goes on everywhere. Yeah. And I can only tell you that what it was like for me personally, really getting involved in politics back in 2015, because I've always been involved, but I was never really involved. But when Bernie came along, I really decided to get involved in a very aggressive way. And what I noticed when you would try at any local, Dem club or Democratic office, when it was Bernie versus Hillary, you could not go into any Democratic office and find anything about Bernie Sanders. It was all about Hillary. That is one form of rigging. It may not be at the ballot box, but that is another form of rigging where you're not allowed to have democracy. When Jen ran against Debbie, same deal. You're not allowed to talk about the primary. You could talk about all the other races that are going on around here. That's fine. Debbie, no.
So meanwhile, something exciting might be happening right now.
So what's that?
We're not sure, but I think it's going to happen.
Well,
she's going to come on, but I don't want to say it, but like, how do we,
Well, you can't jinx it, but we'll put the word out there if she does. We may have a very, very special guest.
We have a very interesting guest coming on in a few minutes.
Which she will be handling. Jen will
I think it's probably more appropriate.
It's one-on-one.
It's probably more
appropriate. We don't need any.
She knows you're going to be here.
We don't need any hetero white males, because I'm the cis white male, whatever I am. I don't.
White cis male.
Yeah. Okay. Let me tell you, for all those of you out there is a difference between the woke left and the economic left. Just remember that.
Yes, which was a key point that was one of the key reasons I wanted to go on Tim Pool. I feel like the people that are what I call, we're the actual left.
Yeah.
We're left based on policy and principles. We do not like the woke left any more than you do.
Yeah.
We don't like them. They're making everything difficult.
Because Jen was almost a victim of cancel culture.
Yes.
Very close.
Yes.
Very
the
close.
Mean girls down here bullied me. They've called me racist. I'm a white feminist. It's all this stuff. And it's basically they've done it for political power. So anyway, this is very exciting because I wasn't sure that this was going to happen. But so we have a very special guest. And I've never met her before. Of course, I know who it is.
You guys are going to need to spread the word very fast because this is unexpected.
And this is really exciting.
We have what I would like to call the leader of the real Me Too movement, and that, of course, is Rose McGowan. Rose, thank you so much for coming on.
Hi.
Love those glasses.
You're always so chic looking. You're always so chic looking. I saw you doing it today in a Wallace in a tank top, and you looked adorable.
Wait, where was I?
It was something you did the other day. You were talking. Oh, you were talking to your old your co-star, your Holly. Is that? I was watching something you did with her, and you just looked really cute.
Oh, we lost the feed.
We lost the feed.
So let's give it a second. Right. She may be out of the country right now.
She's in Mexico. Oh, you're in Mexico.
I live in Mexico.
Oh, you live there.
Yeah. Sorry,
so you live in a country. Well, you live in a country that has healthcare.
I live in a country where it costs me. I have a broken arm. Sorry, I'm trying to find light. I was literally sorry as a TMI for everybody was throwing up because I drank some bad water. On accident. No, it's not really Mexico. It's my fault. Yeah. I had my bottle of water to brush my teeth, but I'm just so used to, you are ingrained in the habit of just enjoying my Zoom background, everybody, in my bathroom. Hello.
You are extremely real and normal.
I think thank you for saying that. It's quite different.
I don't mean in a boring way. I mean like in a typical way. Like
I know. I think I consider myself a worker amongst workers. Sorry, everybody, bear with my weird fingers. you know, worker amongst workers and a person amongst people. And that's, I think, unusual.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah.
And that's sad. I think, you know, I grew up in a very unusual way, and I essentially raised, you know, myself. So I wasn't formed. I'm kind of like a very, at times, well-mannered, at times, if I'm on my own, feral person in a way. So I never conformed to culture because it was never an option. And also I saw what it was, and it was very much, you know, like a situation I grew up in. Anyway, bad water. You probably want to intro the show. Hello, everybody. My name is Rose McGowan.
Yeah. No, but you're talking about like you're a gypsy. You sound like a gypsy.
Well, I mean, that's actually like I think
very
like
cool.
A race. Well, it was more like and it's always been Americans, to be really honest with you, people from the US specifically, that always say, I'm sorry for how you grew up, which offends me greatly. I'm like, yo, nothing, no knocking on Ohio. I've been to, you know, Canton, Cincinnati, and Akron, and what's the other one? Anyway, Ohio. But
Springfield.
and they're like,
Toledo.
Springfield. Shout out Simpsons.
There you go. There you go.
See, he's a fan.
Well, I think you and I are pretty close in age.
No, she's in between us.
Well, you look lovely.
Yeah.
I just it just takes me back when you talk about The Simpsons. The Simpsons were good about 15, 20 years ago. It just shows you how it's incredible they're still on the air. But I remember in the early 90s, that's when it was really good.
Okay, so let me ask you, like, we're just gonna like just shoot the shit, but like, do you want to like talk about things that are more serious? I mean, I know you would ask, and I'm very flexible. Like, we don't do.
I really appreciate you asking. Nobody asked me that, and they kind of journalists, and it wasn't until it was actually I did a podcast for the BBC with Louis Theroux during quarantine. And we had a 3-hour conversation. It cut down to an hour, and I think they should use the rest of the footage for a bonus. It was a really. You ever talk to someone that you match a lot of minds with, and he's had a lot of experience in life, much more than most people. His is studying it primarily from the outside and then getting inside for a short period of time. Mine was deep inside. I look like a full lunatic right now, but that's okay.
No, I love the glasses. It's a little Penny Lane.
My neighbor just gave them to me.
I like them.
And I think if the cool kids at nightclubs can do it, why can I not do this in my own couch?
Oh, you definitely can. So no, I mean, seriously, like I made some notes of things like to just talk about that are like casual things that are a little bit more substantive. Nothing, you know, that I think would be questionable or anything. Like that's not, I just, you know, you're just cool. We're just going to chat.
Going to let you ladies have your time. I will be back.
This isn't like some sort of like, you know, we were kind of mocking
Wait, sir.
Yeah.
Are we
Peter?
Live? Peter, sorry, you never said your name.
I apologize.
I'm sorry. He was my campaign manager.
No, listen, I love you. I appreciate everything that you've done. You're the type of person, you know, like we love Nina Turner. Like we love the people that are really speaking to the real issues. Cut the BS out of the way. Just get to the heart of what's real.
We don't have time. Why is everyone so content with a fucking Band-Aid when we need change because we're all gonna die? It's kind of
yeah. No, listen.
We're gonna die, but we're gonna die faster maybe than we need to.
Well, what do you always say?
None of us is getting out of here alive.
I like the Hells Angels credo personally. Ask cash or grass. No one rides for free.
Yeah, it's true.
And that's the thing. It's like planet Earth. If you mess it up, ask cash or grass. You're not gonna ride this life for free. You're gonna pay in one way or the other for what you did. And the reality is it's been generational. I've been watching and part of the Democratic Party from the inside to the outside, you know, not like a lot of people respond to me on Twitter, and I don't know if they do with you, but probably as if they know more than you because they read the media, which is complete and total bullshit spin.
Yeah.
So you're like, and you're like, but and they're like, media is coming for you, Rose, and I'm like, I am motherfucking media.
Yeah, well, you learned a long time ago that they are not to be believed. you know?
Well,
actually,
of course, I learned from them lying about me, and Harvey Weinstein, as Ronan Farrow uncovered, had paid off journalists like Vanity Fair, TMZ, people, allegedly, all these people, although Ronan Farrow proved it, because I never signed a non-disclosure. This is all I'm going to talk about with that stuff. But
I wasn't even going to ask you.
No, I know, but it's part of what I'm talking about, and it's the elephant in the room. So there's a little thing, literally a fat fucking elephant.
Yeah, gross, like Java.
I love elephants. Actually, elephants do not deserve that. They suffer enough. No, I thought it was funny, and I think I can't remember if it was the New York Times or it was Washington Post or some snooty kind of. It was a great review of my book Brave when it came out, a book I worked so hard on, and they said it was a woman who wrote the review, and they said the only thing we wish is that she didn't need to make fun of his appearance, because I said he scared me. I thought he was a large melted pineapple. And she shamed, and the reviewer, that's what she took away from my book. She shamed me, which is the exact person who's writing these articles that people read, forming their perceptions of me, you, and themselves without them knowing it. And that's what's dangerous.
Yeah, it's very one-sided perception, but I really had this epiphany when I was looking at some stuff about you, and I've known a lot about what's been going on in that movement, but really you're a whistleblower. And that's
I'm broader than that there. It's whistleblowers. What I think my definition and understanding of a whistleblower, and fucking mad respect, what people don't understand is the strategy that goes on in that.
Yeah.
But some whistleblowers, I think, I don't think I fall into any traditional categories, because this was not an accident. This was all on purpose.
No, but you really put yourself out there in a very scary position to do the right thing and to call people out and hold people accountable that needed to be held accountable in power positions. And so it's
actually broader than that. But yes, on the face of it, that's what I've done. Yes, the meta of it, what my actual goal is, and you can read more about this in my book, should any of you choose.
Yes, everybody should read the book. It's Brave, right?
Yeah, they suppressed it on Amazon because 4 days after I knocked out Weinstein, I knocked out a guy named Roy Price, who's out of Amazon Studios, who was already under internal investigation for sexually harassing the producer Ray Bradbury's daughter from The Man in the High Castle, who's produces one of their top-rated shows and still manages to get sexually harassed by, and it's under internal investigation for a year. So it was only Business Insider actually that I liked, because they were like, someday someone's going to study Rose McGowan's business moves. Because it wasn't like, I'm going to blow a whistle and then let's see what happens. It was like, no, this shit is strategic. This shit is years of I studied Napoleon, Alexander the Great, Genghis Khan's, and battle plans when I was 11. I had their maps all over my walls for a few years with like a Venn diagram, but going all around. And I would cross-reference different biographies, occasional autobiographies if they had them, or just their writings, and break it down and study it. And I've always been obsessed with strategy. And someone asked me the other day, they're like, do you play chess? And I was like, I play a mean fucking game of life chess.
Yeah.
Because being famous was my day job. I was discovered. I don't have the same motivations as pretty much almost anybody else. They say Lana Turner, an old movie star, got discovered, sipping a milkshake at a coffee shop at a soda fountain. That's not true. That was a studio invention. I really was discovered in LA standing on a street corner crying. And I always knew, though, that was the weird thing. I always knew I was going to be famous. I always knew it wasn't a big deal. I always knew I do everything I do with subversive tactics involved. But not for any self-gain, and only because nobody's fucking doing it. People are doing it, but they're not getting the macro level of it. They're not getting the big part of the picture.
You find, I know, and I've seen you comment on these things, the hypocrisy of the people that are in the center and the establishment, and whether it's in your industry or just in politics in general. So when we look at all the people that were out there marching with the pink vaginas on their heads, and isn't that nice? But yet, we can't give credibility to Tara Reade because that will completely ruin our whole plans. So that's
it is inconvenient, and people, You know, here's the thing. Each side, and this, again, I want to look at it for me from above the power structure. That's very much the reality, the boots on the ground reality of what's up, right? That's the practical employment of their tactics.
Yeah.
And the propaganda machine. But what goes beyond that, what I'm trying to stop, or what I've been stopping actually, is kind of kung fu mastering these fuckers. Boy, did they kung fu me. So I'm like, and you know, the thing is, you have to get to a place. People need to get to a place as you know, humans. Like even when Peter, sorry, when he got up to leave, he said, no, he said, I'll leave you ladies to talk. And I'm not against the word ladies. I don't care either way. But why I think it's outdated is not out of like a politically correct, we can't say it because we're not supposed to feel it, which is the backwards way. You fucking don't, just because you're not saying the bad word doesn't mean you're not the bad word.
Yeah.
You have to work through it. You have to think about it. You can't just put a Band-Aid on your head. And the big meta part, the biggest structure of all, let's take it as like a circle, right? Here's an orb. And that's what you're all in right now. That's what you're doing right now on that microphone. You're in it, like on this.
Yeah. Sure.
And I am somewhere, I'm way out of the system up here. And then the thought structure is way above me up here. And then the fuckers are between me and you. And I know all the fuckers that are pulling all the strings that are making you have to react to this. And the thing is like there's several things going on. And the biggest part of it is, you know, and I know this from how I grew up. My father was a leader. He was an incredible, interesting, not for this world human, and wildling, a rascal through and through. He put acid in his commander's water cups so he didn't have to go to Vietnam. They waterboarded him in the Navy as punishment. And then he repeated for 24 hours while on acid, I will not kill another race for this country. So that's who bore me. So if that gives you any clues to my personality.
So
like I'm coming at it from a big structure. And I saw, because of his stories, because of how I lived, because his reaction to his father being a big Navy man and pushing him into it, and there being, you know, draft, so you can't not. My father was an artist. He was an incredible artist, and he was like the lead singer of a band, but his band was Jesus, right? He was a total rock star. When I was 11, I was like, Dad, you don't even believe in God. You're a rock star, and Jesus is your guitar. And he was like, and I was like,
so you were raised by atheists. You were raised by atheists.
No, I was raised by deeply religious. You must in a deeply religious cult that my father was the leader of the Italian chapter, and it was religion. But it was such a compact group of people. I could so see clearly from such an early age that what they're preaching wasn't matching with what they're doing. And I realized at a very early age that every time they said, Rose, have you let God in, or Rosa, because it was in Italy, have you let God into your heart? And I would think about it, and I would think back to the earlier in the day when I would lay in the garden and try to visualize opening my chest to God, and nothing would come in. And I was like, nope. And so they would sit on the end of my mat, because all the children slept in colored mats on the stone floor. And they would say, have you let God into your heart? And I was not being a dick. I wanted it to happen.
Yeah.
I have God in my heart in a totally different way. I tend to say goddess just because why not? What do words matter really at the end of the day if you're capturing a spirit, trying to capture the ephemeral, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, I saw it so clearly, and I saw it early on. And this, I think, is an important point for people that can step back from the being in it like this every day, because it's toxic as fuck for everybody. It's toxic for you. I'm so shadow banned. I don't even really bother writing that much or tweeting that much because I have to figure out a way around it. But these little twats, these dickheads, these Zuckerbergs, the Google dudes who on YouTube, Twitter, obviously, they deactivated my account 4 years ago. And there was a 24-hour women worldwide boycott Twitter protest until they reinstated me. It was 4 days after I knocked out Weinstein and after I tweeted at Jeff Bezos.
He's another one. Like, God. No, he's gross.
I like to He really looks like kind of that like him and Jeff Zucker from CNN. They look like walking thumb dicks. Am I right? Who could solve
I could see the penis head resemblance.
Many of the world's, like, Bezos could solve world hunger.
I know. I say that often. Like, if you could solve world hunger and you don't do it, like, how do people sleep at night?
Who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you?
They're psychopaths.
He's a psychopath. That he has the nerve to remember, like, when around first beginning of quarantine, he was doing a fundraising drive for his employees so they could have enough money to buy food while they were working during COVID. I'm like,
but he doesn't want to give them a living wage, so
no, he doesn't not want to. He's not. It's active. It's happening.
So let me ask you a question. So when all this stuff went down for you, and you are someone who I remember growing up, I'm a little bit older.
Stuff has always gone down for me.
Yeah. Well, no, what I mean is that I noticed that there was like a group of women that were essentially always now termed difficult and ghosted. And I noticed this a long time ago, and I always was suspect. I'm like, okay, there's something up with that. Like that's not right, and whatever. And of course, now I've come to know what was really, what the root of that is. But like when you were in that place, when you finally got out of where you were, where does the emotional healing come into play with what you're doing strategically? Like, how do you? Because I think when you're constantly strategizing, it's not necessarily, it's different things.
But I don't constantly strategy. I was actually smoking a joint right before I came on, trying to settle my stomach. I don't constant strategy. I take many moments and I live my life in a very different, non-traditional way. Always have. I just, traditional life is not, it's not that I try to buck it. I just was never in it. So I don't really, it's like an awkward, it's like a badly fitting dress on me, right?
So how was it when you were in it? How was it when you were working in that?
Fucking a nightmare. Imagine this. You don't even want to be famous. My sister Daisy, she doesn't want to be a star. That's not her thing. She runs a gallery called Goka, Goca, in Colorado Springs. I'm trying to find more light on. That's incredible. But I've seen her on stage during her fundraisers and stuff. She actually is the natural star. I was discovered, I can turn it on, but it takes a lot out of me. But it's also very meta, and it does a lot of damage. It's you're basically, it's meta upon meta upon meta. I was literally pixelated doing essentially female drag, but not in a good way. I mean, in a great way, in a celebrity drag. It's so hard to explain. My book goes into it. Like basically where
do you be you?
Well, you don't. You have, when I was on Charm, let's say I got off work at 11 o'clock at night. I'm going back at like 4 in the morning. So I have maybe an hour and a half to be awake. That's when I get to be me, but I'm exhausted. And in that hour and a half to say hi, Pearl, I have to memorize 10 to 11
mine's sitting with Peter. Look at her. Oh my God. Is that a Havanese or a Wheaton?
Yeah, you got it. You're the only one who ever has
Havanese?
She's a Havanese.
Yeah, because I have a Caton de Toulier, which is closely related. Have you ever seen that?
Is that what the other half is? There's the Bichon half.
Come here, Lulu. Come here, Lulu. Come on. Come here.
Lolita.
This is a Lulu.
Hi, beautiful. Oh, Carlita's having
That's a Lulu. But she's kind of crazy, so we got her a Shih Tzu as a service animal, and instead she just turned the Shih Tzu crazy. So now they're both kind of crazy.
I had a rescue dog that was a feral dog that was in a cage for 7 years with 100 other dogs, and when I rescued her, I hadn't really fully thought it out, like how much trauma that would be. And also it turned out to be a Pomeranian once it grew its fur back. So it has the attitude of a queen. This dog was such the red carpet version of me that people thought I was. It was wild. Like the dog.
Well, do you think people resemble their dogs? I kind of think that there's definitely
at different times. Like definitely when I had black hair, and the guys look like my Boston Terrier, bug infested. Absolutely. And then right now, I very much look like my hobbies, except for hers.
Well, okay, you're talking physical. I'm almost talking like our personalities. Like I find my dog just sort of becomes like a symbiotic part. Like she just is part of it.
Oh, they are. And they're also, they come to the specific ones, especially the ones I think, like Perlita, my dog, is the first dog I've ever had with no trauma. She's the first. What has been healing me the most during this time, you asked, is her in a lot of ways, and the ease of weather and beauty around me, and paying, you know, a quarter of my rent that I was paying before. That helps a lot psychologically, stress-wise. But Pearl is the first creature I've ever come across that has no trauma from humans.
That's interesting. So that's a whole different thing.
And I watch her, and
she hasn't been tainted
ever. And I've worked really hard. She's on parvovirus. She ate a mushroom at a party. 4 days gone on that one. Then she had a bacterial infection. She got bit in the ear by a stray dog. But she just.
So are you in the country or are you in the city?
I'm in the jungle.
I'm
in the jungle.
That's where I want to be. I would move to Costa Rica yesterday if I didn't have kids. I'd be in the jungle too.
Why don't you move your kids to Costa Rica? What's so great for them there?
No, then you got to fight with the husband over custody, and it's a whole ugly thing.
Wait, are you guys still married?
Yeah.
And he can't go with you?
No.
Well, everything's
he has a medical practice. Look, I wish.
Everything's Zoom anyway. Why not a Zoom marriage? Hey.
I got to tell you, I've come to, as an older person, to appreciate, I do a lot of things on my own anyway. I'm an only child.
How old are you? If you don't
49. 49.
I'm 47.
Yeah. I told you were like between
You're not
me and
older than me. It's like a millisecond. It doesn't even really factor. It's very interesting. I remember feeling incredibly old when I was 5. I was exhausted, and at school, they asked us, what is our dream? When I was 11, I remember they asked, what is your dream vacation? And I said, I want to be in a hospital for a week where no one can hurt me and I can have all the pudding I want.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and it was just like, I actually, not for anyone having coronavirus or suffering or going through food hunger right now and going through food hunger, that's an oxymoron. Redundant. But just quarantine for the first time in my life, I had a break from the bad guys physically even coming for me. This has been going on a much longer time than people know. It's been going on with, various bad guys that have been in play here for 21 years. So not only did I not get to be me, people like, wow, you made money. I'm like,
is there a certain amount of gaslighting as well that you're getting for a lot of this? Because I imagine,
honey, why do you think that started now? That started like when I came to the States and they told me.
No, I know. I don't think people understand that.
Everyone tells you what to do, and everyone tells you what they think you are. And 2 things that I cannot fucking stand are those 2 things.
Yeah. No, I mean, but the whole idea, have you ever had people tell you, oh, that just sounds like a conspiracy. It can't be all those people. They can't all.
I got in a tiff with someone this morning, and he's someone that I'm actually hiring for this company that I have, this wellness situation I'm doing, building on land here that I bought. And I said this, and I was talking about my landlord, the street owner, the landowner, and the owner in Bulgaria, right? That's what I was talking about. But all 3, and he goes, no, this is a conspiracy. And he knows all this stuff going on with me. He's like, no. I said, stop. First of all, you just had structural cult-like thinking pop out of your mouth.
Yeah.
Because and I go, you are mansplaining, you're gaslighting. He goes, no. And I'm like, stop. I go, if you're going to work with me, you need to understand and look at your behavior and change it. As do I when I have to look at my behavior and change it, just like anybody should be, right? But this is a lovely gay Mexican man who's very spiritual and amazing human, fun, but literally his first instinct, and I said to my friend Thomas, a Lithuanian guy who happens to be gay, and Scottish guy, and I said, if I say I'm going to put my camera here, no, it's their first instinct with women, and I don't even like subdividing genders or anything like that because it's boring. But like, I've noticed it, like, just as a test subject, as a person who's met more men than anybody will in like 20,000 lives. Lucky me. Just kidding. But I've also met more women, you know, and so at this point, I can do my own marketing studies. I can do my own study of how many are like this, how many are like that. They used to have, in the olden days, in the olden days for internet, they had fans. If you had one fan letter delivered to the studio, that equaled 5,000 fans. And I hate the word fans. I don't like that one. I think
it's weird when you're not someone who wants to be famous.
Well, it's weird even if you do want to be famous, because it subjugates, and it's a separation thing. You're then dividing classes. You're like, I remember being 14. It plays into the class structure and how it reinforces that fan follower. It's fucking creepy.
See, and we deal with that with politics. What we're trying to do is get people back to understanding that politicians and our representatives are our employees. They're not people that are supposed to be on pedestals. Like, it's this, we have to level that. That's exactly what we're doing.
Well,
here.
there's in it on all levels, you know. When I was 14, I was in Seattle, and I got asked by a friend, we were in Nordstrom shoe department. She's like, do you want to go get Pearl Jam's autograph? And I thought about it, and I was like, no. Why? I don't like them. I don't not like them. I have no feeling. It doesn't matter. But my idea, the exact image I had, if I went up to Pearl Jam to get their autograph, it would be like me, alms for the poor. Wow, I collect autographs, also weirdly, of old stars and writers and first edition books and you know, things like that.
That's different. That's literary.
That's different.
That's
well, it's not just literary. It's art, or it's even actors.
You're not standing outside of a studio holding a book trying to get somebody to sign it. It's different.
Right, which is, well, those people often make a living that way, and they're people that are marginalized. So that's the thing. Some are legit, like, it's a strange, like being a stand-in, right? If you're a stand-in to someone, if you're standing in, how meta is that? Like, when my whole profession was me never getting to have my own thoughts, my own words, right? And wham, boo for you. You try it. See how you fucking like it. You go to work, you complain about being at work, maybe don't like it, but you get to have your own brain.
Yeah. Well,
mine is like, like, it depends on the job. When I watch, no, but you get to have your own thoughts a lot.
Yeah.
A lot more. You don't have 10 to 14 pages a day where you're reciting usually a man's, what your idea of you is, that what you can be, sold to people that are then supposed to be sold your values and what they can masturbate to, while you're pixelated up to the satellites and beamed back down all over the world. It's a very strange thing to have happen to you.
What
and
do
the
you
physical feeling and sensation is very strange.
What do you think that says about people that do acting? You know, I always think about when I see musicians, for example, when they're writing music or they're performing, it's a piece of them. That's them. It's their art. It's what they're putting out there. And you could even say that to some degree with comedy, depending on the writing and whatever they're doing. But with acting, it's not you. It's purposefully being somebody else.
Right.
And so I wonder what that does to someone's kind of soul when you're not really putting yourself out there. You're being into someone else. And I would think it's
oftentimes actors, or at least I think it's important to separate artist, actors. Sorry, I'm trying to find a good thing. Is that okay? Enjoy my shower head.
No, it's lovely.
You know, it's one of the parts of it is that there are true thespians, and everyone's like, oh, thespian, but they're fucking Alan Rickman, for instance. You know, comes to mind off the top of my head. He played Severus Snape in Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And
Brilliant.
Things, right? So when he died, he's a true artist. Ray Fiennes, I would say, a true artist. There are people that also love fame, and those people could also be your Instagram influencer. They could also be just someone who wants to be recognized. It's very complex and very simple at the same time. It's people thinking that outside shit's gonna fix them. Whereas some people, and we should all bow down and be grateful they exist. How many actors, the ones that are like the true artists, the ones that do it for the right reasons, and are
for the craft,
for the craft. I mean, I was discovered. I had love of film. And weirdly enough, the industry, I studied that for years. I studied classic Hollywood. My favorite job in Hollywood was co-hosting The Essentials with Robert Osborne. I love that. That was awesome. I loved him. And getting to pick like amazing classic films, excuse me, and things like that, right? But as the rest, because I also got for 2 days that I filmed all those bumpers, I got to be me and have my own thoughts. And that was like one time in 22 years, 23 years. I did my first film when I was 14.
So I know something that you had said, and it's something that I had thought of, like I had said to you in reference to not just you, but other women that were also sort of like blackballed and gaslit and abused.
But that happens to you too, dear.
Oh no, and we can talk.
We get it in a very intense and public.
Yeah, way, no, I have been violated. No, I've been violated. I actually say I do not know an adult woman that has not been violated in one way or another. Now it's a spectrum, ranging from somebody being rude to somebody raping you. I mean, it's a spectrum, but I don't know a woman who hasn't been violated. I had a boss come up behind me and rub himself up on my back and rub me while I was sitting at my desk. And then I got in trouble for telling about it. So, I mean, like I've had things like that, but it's violating.
Well, it's everybody is a sovereign being. And it's really, something that was very interesting going back to the one piece of fan mail equating 5,000 humans that are aware of your existence and would like to share in your existence, or that you take them out of their life in some way, or that you go with them on a journey, or you become their family, or you are their friend. That's the service I perform. That's the service actors perform. We make you laugh. We make you cry. We And then there's the dickheads that fly their private planes and then tell you to save, drive a Prius. Come on.
The hypocrisy is suffocating.
Oh, that form Time's Up. That form, it's all bullshit. They each, Hollywood is very smart. Sorry, I can't, it's like weirdly hot and cold.
No, but you know what? It's so funny. I feel like in a lot of ways, you are in your industry how I kind of feel in what I'm doing, because I'm just a regular person just calling shit like I see it. And that doesn't go over very well with the people that are supposedly in charge. And I am like a pariah. Yeah.
But lean into the pariah, girl.
No, I do. And the only time I don't is
fun. It's exhausting. Their stupidity, they're so basic. Their playbook is so basic. You're like, God, really? You're still going to pull that shit? The crazy drug addict horror that's, Google, you're still going to, when you Google my name, that's the first thing that comes up. Not that I was one of Time Magazine's People of the Year, GQ's Man of the Year award winner. Not that I've given speeches.
No, because they're not going to allow that.
But no, because they go with it. They're in bed. What I don't understand what the fucking Clintons have over everybody.
Oh, well, we could talk about that.
What is the story?
Well, they financially bailed out the DNC. So the entire party is beholden to them. Debbie Wasserman Schultz ran the party into the ground financially, and then it was bailed out by the Clinton Foundation.
She's the devil.
Oh,
that's treacherous.
Oh, terrible.
Oh, I did not know that. That's another level of fuckery.
Yeah.
God,
well, that's
disgusting.
why.
What is the end game, though? What is the end goal?
Well,
is it just
right
to be able to be on Epstein's Island for all those times? And
you know what? For her power, and if you want to know, Kamala is really just Hillary and a Kamala.
Oh, honey, dude, I know all of that stuff. I know these people. Yeah. I also knew it because I worked in DC. I was a lobbyist for No Labels, a fucking ridiculous group. I did undercover work. I got so bored acting, I decided to do like double undercover.
So what do you want to do? I mean, I did see something.
I'm building a mini empire. I'm good. Is that what you mean?
I know. I'm sure you are. You are totally got it going on. But I mean, I recognize when you said that your career was stolen, and that goes for a lot of people.
I didn't say I cared. I just
that's why.
Right. But to make that, but for many people whose passion, like a Mira Sorvino or an Annabella Sciorra or an Ozzy Argento, people who wanted to be able to fucking, it is in their nature. The thing about acting, if it's really you and you really are a true performer, and I think I'm more of a performance artist, one that kind of pushes at your brain almost more than I am an actor. But I have such mad respect for true actors that it's almost a compulsion. They have to get it out. They have to be able to, it's almost like I have a line in my album, Planet 9, also suppressed. It says, only here to paint colors on the sun, only here to see the fires run. And that's, I believe, what true actors and true artists and true everybody should be trying to do, which is don't let them steal your thunder. Don't let them steal your light. Don't let them steal your joy. We literally are here to paint colors on the sun. Don't let them from such an early age, and don't take it away from your kids, their emotional paint box. Because we have words like happy, sad, mad, glad. It's basic. Come on. We're better than that. We're more dimensional. But if you trap people in by basic language, but if I can write something that says we're only here to paint colors on the sun, then you can imagine you too having, you know, this giant paint box with these like paintbrushes made of stars, and we're all just here like, I look like a total fruitcake tonight. I assure you, everybody.
No, I was sitting there admiring the cape.
Yeah, my friend Enrique, he's an incredible designer from Mexico City.
It's really cool.
The sweater is too thick. It's very odd weather because when it's cold, it's still very humid. So it's like hot.
What part of Mexico are you in?
I'm in the Mexican Caribbean.
Nice.
Which is
I have a
like
really good friend who lives in East Mujeres.
Oh, what a lovely place to live. Yeah, it's a really, my father lived in the Baja Sur for 20 years in a little town called Todos Santos, which is like an expat arts community. It's really beautiful. And I've always had like a lot of, my aunts and uncle are teachers in San Miguel de Allende.
I know.
Mountains. Isn't it pretty?
I haven't been, but I know people that were there half the year, and I know what it is. I know it's beautiful.
Yeah, the doors, each doors, the colors in Mexico. And it reminds me like so much of like, I've always had, honestly, a hard time living in New York just because it's so gray and the buildings are gray. I guess I was raised in Italy where you have a lot of color and light and sun. And so it really helps my mood.
And we were just talking about all I see is concrete as far as I can see concrete and just big blocks of glass and concrete.
That's a nightmare. How are you supposed to have how are you supposed to feel free? How are you supposed to feel good? How are you supposed to feel like you can spread your wings? Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you and I might be kindred spirits. I think of myself as somewhat of a dryad. Like I actually want to live in the trees. I'd love to have like a tree house in the mountains and just be in the trees.
Well, you shall. And one of the things that's funny, I wish you could see
you
it
in
now,
like
but you can.
Oh my God.
But all of my house, like apartments or house, is always about 3 stories up.
That's
awesome. So I always
You're in the tree.
Nothing around me, so I feel like I have I'm floating in the air in the trees, not in a tree. Yeah, that I have an open air. We should have more light. Let me find it for you. An open air dining room. It's really dark. Sorry. I'm turning on one light. Bear with me. You'll see.
Okay, so can I ask, is there a new boyfriend?
I don't even like the word boyfriend. That's
I know, partner, significant other. I know, but here's the thing: is
you know what I want to do?
And I assumed they meant life partner, and it was business partner, and it was awkward.
No, there's no good words. I think that's why we need to write a new dictionary, because the words we're using for things they're not cutting it, and they're not adequately explaining what, or illustrating or showing the emotion of what we're even talking about. But he's not a boy, he's a man. He's 41, very age appropriate. Woot. And
he's adorable. I saw a picture and he's just absolutely adorable.
He's an amazing human, and I call him like a 10% alien because he's like such a good human, but he's not even aware of it. But he's just a humble, amazing, feels very deeply. I fell in love with him when
that's so sweet.
Speaking of business partners, when he speaks very good English, but English at best of times is not the most nuanced language, right?
No.
It can be, but you have to really know a lot of vocabulary. And Spanish is his first language, obviously. And but I knew he was like feeling and thinking deeply, but I didn't know. So he texted me after we spent like a weekend together. He's like, that's not how he talks. He said it over text. It is very nice to meet you. And I'm like, in America, that would mean, okay, I had a really horrible meeting and I never want to see you again. Or a bad Tinder date. I never want to see you again. And I'm like, and I started laughing and I wrote back. I said, babe, can you please tell me what you're thinking and what is making you, what is the look in your eyes that I see? What words in Spanish explain that? And then he wrote me and I was like, what? And Google Translate actually came through on this one. And it was like, I found like the way his mind and how he expresses himself. It's really beautiful.
Right, when it can't be done in English.
No, and luckily, I mean, that's the frustrating thing for me. My mom didn't allow us to speak Italian when we came to the US. So I forgot it. And, but I can feel it there, and I can feel my brain reaching for other words, but I can't get to them. I think she just didn't want anyone asking about her past history and stuff, shame-based stuff.
So you are in a good place now, physically.
Yeah, I had the last couple of days, it re-triggers a lot of that, like all the fuckery with Lisa Bloom, David Boyce, the monsters.
If there's anything you want to talk about that, feel free. I wasn't,
It's just a full-on. It's just a full-on lie, and it's stupid. It's so basic, and it's so obvious and expected. So let me see. CBS writes, they canceled her lawsuit. She lost the lawsuit. Not true at all. I have 3 weeks to correct a mistake that was made on the form. That is not a mistake made by my team.
Right. So but they're going to make it look like it's a joke. And again, this is just gaslighting stuff.
I know what they do. I don't care if they do to me, because I know what they're doing. Having, quadruple thousand PhD and that shit at this point.
So just so people know, if people don't know, this is regarding a civil lawsuit against Harvey Weinstein. Do you mind if you talk about this stuff while I take a 1-minute break and come back? No, go ahead. Yeah, no, this is
I like this off the cuff, totally random.
That's me. I've got no agenda. Yeah, no, go ahead.
I'm very happy that I stopped throwing up and going to the bathroom long enough to be able to just hang out with you tonight.
No, it's really cool.
And I do wonder, because I get very casual in these things, but I think I'm so used to Zoom calls now. It's making me feel like and then everyone is much more, if I'm it depends on who I don't know. I'm just enjoying hanging out.
Yeah, but okay. So speaking of that, I really thought it was cool what you said about the whole Jeffrey Toobin thing. Well, you want to talk about getting having
what a scumbag. What did I say?
Oh, gross. But now in all fairness,
but what did I say? I don't remember.
You made the very clear point that had it been a woman, that it would have been an entirely different story. They would have basically lynched her, it would have been a whole.
I said, had it been, imagine if it was a Hispanic woman, or an African American woman, or a woman, or a white woman named Karen, what would have happened to her?
It would have been a whole different thing. Yeah, for sure. But I mean, that is gross. But in all fairness,
I'm going to take a 1-minute break.
What?
I'm going to take a 1-minute break.
Okay, go ahead.
And then if you can explain to people what the lawsuit is about.
We can wrap up. We still have to do our paper. It's, we can. It's totally cool.
My head has been sideways, and this could be my least attractive appearance ever. But I believe in the power of being free. I believe in being a human amongst humans. I made $15,000 last year. Is that under the poverty line in the U.S.?
Yeah.
Activism pays. Who says it doesn't? Being suppressed on all platforms really helps the sister out,
which we are very vehemently against here. We are against censorship. So, go do what you're gonna do, because we got to wrap up. And would you come back sometime? Would you come back sometime?
Absolutely. Or you can just text me and we can keep talking.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Rose. You're adorable. Thank you.
Bye, love.
Bye. Because she wanted to go do something, and I could sit here and chat, but I'd rather you come back and us finish our show. And she was so cute, and we've been on for a while. And so anyway, that was cool talking to her. And she definitely is an artist person. I get that vibe completely. She's definitely an artist person, and very cool, and really has zero F's to give. That's what she's got. That is someone who has been there, seen that, done that, and is just done. Really just done.
I had a friend, my friend Mike Werhan, who I would have brought up, but I didn't think it was, it didn't have to happen, because you never know what she wants to talk about, especially about Weinstein. But
that's what I said. I wasn't going to bring it up.
I have a friend who's been a producer in Hollywood and in China, and this is going back years, and we would always talk about what a scumbag Weinstein was. And then, of course, when it finally broke, it was like, yep, saw that one coming. And little did we know how bad it was ultimately going to be. But again,
so everybody hit the like button if you're on here now. That was a special treat. We all got to visit with Rose McGowan in her Mexican treehouse, which is now very, very desirable to me. But anyway, so that is our change maker of this week, because that is someone who really stood up in a way that nobody else at the time really seemed to be willing to do.
No, and she's the end. Listen, there is such a level of hypocrisy on the Democratic side when it comes to calling out the real problems, but then when you're faced with one that's on your team, you try to brush it under the rug.
And it's even worse in that industry. I'm sorry. That's horrible.
Absolutely.
I did know at the time. I remember thinking that there was this group, like, how come those actresses, they're just, you don't see them anymore. And it was basically this entourage of young women, kind of close to my age, that basically just all fell off the face of the earth. Like she was saying, like Mira Sorvino, and like that were people that were, and it's like, they got totally blackballed by Jabba the Hutt, essentially, is what happened. So she is a badass, and she still continues to speak up all the time, and that is something that I really.
But she's gotten very involved in the political side of things, which is great. And she has called out Alyssa Milano in particular for the hypocrisy to no end. I mean, you know, and again, the problem with Milano is the fact that she was so front and center in the Me Too movement, but then the second it turned around and got to Biden, it's like, no, but Biden's okay.
Oh, how about that? She was all defund the police and then called them to her house the next day or whatever. Like, she's Karen and a half. Yeah. So Rose is definitely our change maker, but you have a bootlicker. So this kind of brings us back to where we went when we got surprised. And
we're never going to be able to move on to this next administration. We're going to be stuck in purgatory, kind of like we were 20 years ago in 2000.
We were talking about the lawsuits.
Yeah. So the lawsuits, again, they're completely frivolous at this point. But if there's one thing we all know, is that the state of Florida will never let you down. They'll always find a way. And the good news is it's not Ron DeSantis. The bad news is that it is our Attorney General, Ashley Moody, who has been the ultimate Trump bootlicker. This is going back prior to Trump being president. I mean, this is somebody who has always had a very close business relationship with Trump, being that, you know, with Mar-a-Lago,
his people in our state. So 100%. This is someone who is now jumping on the bandwagon with the other states to sue them to overturn the results of those state elections.
Correct.
Again, I think it's unconstitutional. I don't see how this could go anywhere.
But I wouldn't expect anything less. And lo and behold, you know, we didn't even get a chance to talk about it. The lady's name is slipping me right now. But then Ron DeSantis does this raid
of
Rebecca Jones. Yeah. Rebecca Jones's house gets raided. And let me tell you, if anything's going to bring DeSantis down, it's going to be something like that, because that's when you bite off more than you can chew. I mean, that guy clearly doesn't care, and now you don't do something like that unless you really have something to hide.
The thing about somebody like DeSantis, who basically gets put in as a little sort of puppet of Trump,
right,
is that when Trump leaves, so does he.
That's true.
Like, I mean, those are kind of, you know, connected to each other. Those are correlated.
But you better believe that Trump will be down here to campaign for DeSantis in 2 years. Like, Trump is now going to revel in being
we will be campaigning, hopefully for Anna Eskamani.
So we'll see what happens with that. That'll definitely be one hell of a fight if those two go hand in hand.
And in the meantime, up until whenever Nina is sitting exactly where she wants to be sitting,
correct,
that is what we are doing. We are Team Nina. So everybody hit our like button. Please go check out Nina Turner's site, and be supportive. And the truth is, everybody's going to be supportive because it's Nina.
Yes. Well, Nina's, like I said, Nina she's everything that we hope we could be and would want to be in politics. Riley, we really disagree
with that. We're going to have to agree to disagree about Bill Maher.
You people.
Okay, here's the thing.
People.
I can't. You know what? It was funny. And then now it's just tired. But I would encourage you to go watch. There was a very good video a couple of years ago that Kaya Kalinske did specifically about Bill Maher. And it was really beautiful. It was kind of like watching your boyfriend beat your ex up. Like, that's kind of what it felt like. It felt like, it was kind of cool.
You could always make Bill Maher the bootlicker of the week.
Bill Maher could, a lot of times, yeah. I mean, a lot of times, because he's just very.
The problem is we do our show. We do our show on Thursday, and his show is always on Friday.
Is that
what it is?
Yeah,
it's like you're not going to necessarily catch what he's doing until the last. The loop around.
See, I would never even know when people's shows are.
Yes.
Who else? I mean, I don't think I watch anybody when it is their show. I'm always watching after the fact. Like, I don't watch anything live. Occasionally and that's because I'll do super chats and he'll read my message. And he reads it verbatim, and so I'll write things that I want him to say, and it's really funny.
Well, I guess we weren't prepared for this, but going on Tim Pool's show has afforded us the opportunity now. I think we're over the mark where we can start doing super chats and getting donations.
So, guys, if you aren't subscribed, please subscribe to us on YouTube. That's what we really need. I think that when you see it, a lot of the people are not watching it on YouTube; they're watching it on Twitter or on Facebook, and so they're not able to hit the like.
No, I think most of the comments are coming from how
do you know
YouTube,
where they're from?
Because you can see the logo.
I see the little logo. Yeah, but that's a lot of the same people. I don't think it's the
well, anything's possible.
But everybody,
we had quite a few watching recently.
Yeah, I mean, we're really trying to do something and create a movement and really shift the paradigm of politics and get it back to where, well, not that it ever was there, but get to this concept of actual representation of actual people.
Yeah.
So I know it's crazy sounding, but that's really what we're working on. That's the whole goal of generational change. So check out the podcast. And we do have GenCore that is working, and we have our volunteer stuff. Tomorrow is going to be a community garden day. If anybody is local and you want to come out to the community garden, I will be there by 10, somewhere between 9:30 and 10. It is on the corner of Atlanta and J. Ely in Liberia. So it's right central in Liberia. It's right across from the cemetery.
I think you
can't miss us.
Mobile School Pantry might also need help tomorrow, and that's in North Broward and Pompano.
That's in Pompano.
So we'll see. We'll put the word out in the chat if
anybody is interested. You have a horticulture degree. Awesome. We are really trying to create a sustainable situation in a community that has a very significant food desert, and also provide a diversion program for at-risk youth. So what we're working toward is creating a farm that can actually be a diversion. Yeah, urban farming. And that, and also we want to really be focusing on regenerative agriculture and building up our soil and composting and having rainwater collection. And we want to use this farm as a vehicle for teaching the kids, not just about sustainable agriculture, but about being independent, being able to have a little business, teach them that you can sell these things at the farmer's market, and really be mentors to these kids and bring it into their neighborhood. And that's what we're trying to do. So tomorrow is day 2 of our digging and planting. So don't come out there with like exciting hopes of seeing a functioning farm. It is not a functioning farm.
Not there yet.
It is a trough with a lot of mulch being put down. But we are working with master gardeners, and there is also going to be an on-site educational facility, and we're working out the details of how to do that. We're thinking about possibly doing shipping containers. We have a few different ideas. There will be sponsorship opportunities for the garden when we start putting up the fencing. And so, but right now the goal is every Friday morning, we're all going to put in hours. So anybody who's local, you want to come out to the garden on a Friday morning, please come out.
You're going to get a new t-shirt.
You get a new t-shirt, the cute GenCore t-shirt.
Yes.
But even still, it's a really great group of people. You're really contributing to someplace that needs it. And it's a big deal. We were very fortunate that this land was gifted to my friend Aaron Hollis, and who is basically in charge of Liberia from a non-municipal perspective, from more
community
of a
leader.
Community leader. And so this is what he and my friend Mona Lisa have decided to do with this lot that his really good friend Blaine, not that Blaine would be watching this, but he's a really sweet guy. And he basically wanted to help his friend and his old neighborhood. And so he bought this lot and gave it to them to do whatever they want with it. And so we are putting a really big, I hate saying garden because we're kind of somewhere between a garden and a farm.
Sure.
It's bigger than a garden, but smaller than a farm. It's the type of thing
it's the type of thing that could be recreated, not just in South Florida, but all throughout the country. And that is the goal. The goal is to have, who cares?
I know, it's just funny.
The goal is to have, he may be talking to me. Okay. The goal is to have sustainable agriculture in as many places as possible. And that's what kind of, a lot of people want to be off the grid. That was one of the things that Tim Pool and his supporters, they're very much about real conservatism from the standpoint of sustainability.
They're about real communism by the definition of living in groups, in self-sustainable groups.
Correct.
And being off the grid. And so that really is, which is why we're not that far off, even though people think he's the right. If you really think about it, that's kind of what I think.
Well, like I said, they don't want us to find common ground.
Edible landscape.
They do not want us to be able to talk about issues that actually are agreeable.
By the way, in the state of Florida now, they cannot keep you from growing edible landscape on your front yard. You are allowed to do that by state law now. So people don't realize that, but we can. They can't stop you.
Got to spread the word.
And that's really what we're just trying. And it really isn't. But it's not just about the food insecurity. It's also about education, about healthy eating. A lot of these neighborhoods.
Riley brings up a very good point. I like groups like the Amish. The Amish are
my kids would have thought we were Amish when we were little. They didn't have any electronic toys.
No, the Amish are, but the Amish are true conservatives. They conserve and they value everything that they have.
Yes,
they
don't work for things.
100%.
Yes, it's a work ethic, and we don't really have that.
No.
But that's what we're trying to bring to the community.
But that, in many ways, is the difference between, the two biggest, just in terms of mainstream political factions. The Democratic Party, in many ways, has just become solely beholden to big city liberals, if you will.
Yeah.
And big city liberals are, I always joke, like, if you have a friend who lives in any of the biggest major liberal cities in the United States, New York, Chicago, San Francisco, if you look in their refrigerator, there's nothing there. It's basically a bottle of ketchup because everybody eats out. It's the big city.
And you're talking about people who have access to fresh produce and fresh food. So you don't have to keep food stored. No. You just buy what you use. People in these communities, the closest thing for them to walk to is a convenience store,
right.
And it's junk. And there's no healthy food options, so that even when a lot of people in these communities have access to healthy food, whether it's through mobile school pantry,
right?
There's often times where they'll see some of these vegetables and they've never seen them before.
No.
So that's part of the educational component of what we want to do. Mona Lisa's all about, I'd asked her if she could come on, but I sent a message too late. She's all about using basically every part of everything that she grows. So there'll be lots of information about how to use
everything. That's composting, learning about the fact that anytime you think you need to throw away any bad fruits or vegetables, you put it in the compost, it becomes food for the soil.
And I want that. We're going to do that here. I need to start composting here. And now that I have a place for which to use said composting, because now whatever I compost, I can bring over to the garden.
Yeah.
But I encourage that. And I would love for us to have municipal composting anywhere here. But given that only exists in a handful of places, I don't think Florida is going to be like the first in line for that.
Hey, listen, like I said, the progressive
We're not exactly
lane
on the cutting edge of, progress here in Florida.
Because like I said, progressives get a reputation, and we will close with this. You really have to be able to distinguish between the economic left and the woke left. There is a big difference between the two. The reason why we say woke left and everyone's like, well, you're not supporting all rights. And no, of course we do. What the woke left essentially means is that do as we say, not as we do. And if you don't do as we say, we will cancel you. That is a very big part of the problem.
Yeah.
You're not pure enough, you're not good enough, and you will be judged based on things that you cannot control.
No, it's true.
So there is a very significant problem when dealing with this whole, listen, for the most part, the reception that Jen got going on Tim Pool's show was very positive, but you're always going to have detractors. You're going to have people on the left who say, how could you go on his show? He's had bad people on there. But you've gotten to the point now where I think people know you're legit and that you're not somebody who needs to be canceled. You're not a grifter or anything like that.
No, I've already lived through being canceled. I've been canceled locally.
Yeah. But the biggest problem with people on the right is there are a lot of people who just can't stand the fact that she voted for Biden. They see that
here's the thing. I get that, but every time I talk about it, it's very remorsefully. It's not like I was never pushing it. I'm not gung ho. I don't feel good about it. I'm not arguing on it. Like that's not a sword I'm dying on. So it's like, I get it. It sucks. I'm not thrilled with it either. So I don't know what more to say about it.
We've got to figure out how to cultivate and build coalitions. It's build bridges, not burn them.
Yeah.
If anybody out there thinks that it's not a good idea to support Nina Turner because she's running in the Democratic Party, I don't know what to tell you. Nina and everything else that goes on, you can have your problems with AOC. You could have your problems with the squad as a whole. You could be, listen, they have to bring Medicare for all to the floor for a vote. But the truth of the matter is, even though they're the elected officials, as long as we keep talking about Medicare for all, living wage,
Look
and
how
the
far
wars,
we've come since 16. It's amazing.
Once it's in the American psyche and it becomes the part of the normal vernacular, it's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
Because people are starting to figure out that our healthcare system really is a joke. And not only is it a joke, but the ability to turn it into Medicare for all could be done like that. All you have to do is just say everybody gets a Medicare card, and that's the end of it.
So I want to this is more of a thing that bothers me, is like I said on his show, is how the left eats their own.
Correct.
And it's frustrating. It's everybody's nitpicks about every little thing you say, every little thing you could mean it's very not conducive to getting anything done. So, when people want to critique one thing and fixate on one thing, this is why we can't have nice things. So what I would like to do is, to anybody who's watching that maybe found me from the Tim Pool show, or generally are not lefties, welcome to what I'm going to call the sane left. Okay. We're going to be the sane left. We don't wear pink knit hats. We're not social justice warriors. We don't want to cancel you. We don't want to take your guns. We don't want to censor you. We don't, so we'll
have a civil discourse.
Yes.
And we will have disagreements. There's no question.
But we are not those people. And no. I honestly, I'm so done. I'm done with that. So we can talk about policy. There's certain things I'm not going to debate. Like, I'm no longer debating Medicare for all is a right. It's just not. I'm not debating that anymore. It's happening. So, but really, we can all sort of agree to disagree on some things and still move forward.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Listen, if Jen's biggest enemy is the K-hive, then
she's
she's doing something right. Less hair dye. Well, I guess she's referring to the people in the woke left that,
Oh, you're talking about, yeah, I know. And here's the thing, please. I would really encourage the people that consider themselves centrist or right, even. I would really encourage
don't judge people for things like
that. Don't judge left policies based on the people that you're seeing that you consider left. Because for the same reason that the media on the left shows all the crazy lunatic rednecks and shows those as who are the Trump supporters, the right wing also is showing all the annoying blue-haired woke left people that are not really representative of us either. So I think, and this is being done on purpose. We went to the Trump rally. About 5% of the audience were the people that are what is portrayed in the mainstream media as that are Trump, sycophants. That was a very small percentage of who was there. And in the same way, people that are left, or at least support left policies, labor policies, right, populist policies, they are not the people that are wanting you to announce your pronouns and constantly canceling you.
And listen, there's nothing wrong with if somebody wants to say their pronouns, that's perfectly fine. Yes. But you cannot be judging other people if they don't feel comfortable or don't want to do that.
Right.
They should respect you if that's what you want to do.
I plead with the right to recognize that what you're seeing is not a fair perception of the left.
Correct.
And I am pleading with my friends on the left to understand what you're seeing is not a fair perception of the right.
Correct.
And if everybody would sort of just do that, if we could all just stop watching mainstream media that's
really what it's all about.
And everybody would just
turn off MSNBC, turn off CNN, turn off Fox News. And put this on, put on secular talk, put on anybody you can think of.
Gray Zone, if you want real news.
Yeah.
There's real news, if you want real news. And then if you want political banter, there's no shortage. Humanist Report, Rational National, Bo the Fifth Column. There's a lot of different.
Jamal Charles. There's so many different people. Jordan Chariton, Status Quo.
That's a real journalist.
I mean, it's not hard.
So, yeah, you guys, there are good news sources out there, but just stop with the labels.
Yeah.
I'm so over it. And, and also the virtue signaling where one person says, well, that person's had a microaggression and so they must be canceled. And then all of the people that don't even know, weren't there, don't even know that person, but they are so quick to just jump on that like hyenas on a carcass because some virtue signaling ringleader called someone out for some microaggression. And this is not conducive to progress. And we have a whole bevy of these little petty hens in Broward that are just like that. They're career political climbers.
Or they just can't get out of their own way.
Well, right. But what they do, because when the person who called me out, that person knew damn well that this was making a mountain out of a molehill and that they were doing that. And then everyone else just jumped on board who wasn't even there.
Sure.
So and these people, they're followers. That's the other thing. They're followers by design.
They're not organizing community garden.
No, they're
projects.
spending
They're
their
not
time
doing
canceling and hating.
Yeah.
They go around and find little microaggressions and then gossip about it and then hate on people.
Point being, we have to focus on the issues and the issues only, because if we don't, we're never going to get anywhere. It's not going to happen because people will find a reason not to get along. They will find a reason. They will find a reason not to get to where we need to go. There are people dying by the thousands every day from this virus because we don't have universal health care. We don't have a universal basic income. We don't have the things that we should have. And if we demand it of the people in charge, we can make it so. Jimmy Dore brought up a great point. There is only a 12-seat majority that the House has right now. 12 Democratic members, the Squad, a whole bunch of other progressives, Ro Khanna. The reality is they can withhold their vote from Pelosi becoming the next speaker unless Medicare for All is brought to the floor for a vote.
But they won't.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
I
hope I'm wrong.
What do you think is more likely to happen? That or Trump pardoning Julian Assange? I want to know, like, because those two things to me are both kind of like, I'd like to see it happen, but I just don't think so.
I would say, unfortunately, as much as I hate to say it, probably Trump, because Trump doesn't care.
Right. So what we're acknowledging,
he has no ideology.
Is that you and I both believe that there is a stronger likelihood of Trump pardoning Julian Assange than we do of the Democrats
put that out there.
Taking a stand.
I'm going to put that out there. I'm going to put that out there as a poll. I'm going to see what people say.
Yeah. What is more likely to happen?
Yeah.
That's a great question. I think both of them are unlikely, but if you had to pick one, I do. I think Trump is more likely to pardon.
Well, hopefully we can be proven wrong.
Then I think the Squad. And by the way, where's the Progressive Caucus?
There is
people
no
ask about that. Well, no, there is a Progressive Caucus
but it just
with over 100 members in it. There is a Congressional Progressive Caucus
Mark
that
Pocan,
has over 100 members.
Mark Pocan had the audacity to go on Tom Hartman's show and say that, I can't withhold my vote. I'm like, yeah, you can.
Oh my God.
Don't want to.
No, they're feckless and they're cowards.
They are.
And so, but I don't, to pay to be on a list to say you are something that you aren't is just so gross. So to every single congressperson that has paid and is on the caucus, the Progressive Caucus, but yet you never support progressive policies, you're a hack and a sham. And it's like, shame on you. Well, so you could afford the $4,000 to get into the Progressive Caucus and you could just sit there so that you're in the Progressive Caucus. And it's like this fake looking opposition, but yet you don't vote for progressive policies. Because where are those 100 people? I see the same handful of people every single time. Where are the 100 people? I don't see this. So I want to know, you know what? I'm going to look that up. I am going to find the list. Actually, that's going to be my project for next week. I want to look up the list of all the members of the Progressive Caucus. And I think we should reach out to them. I think we should reach out to all the members of the Progressive Caucus that we don't realize are in the Progressive Caucus.
Or anybody that apparently endorses Medicare for All. Apparently there's quite a few. But listen, when push comes to shove, they will side with their corporate donors if they take their money first.
But I don't understand why it's like, so they're really just flat out lying.
Yes.
Okay. See,
they are.
That's that. So we're going to call them out on this.
Which is why you have to box them in. That's what they want. You
know,
you got to box them in.
No, they do want to get reelected. But so what we're going to do, and that's fine. Look, I'm not saying that people need to be progressive. I'm not saying that. But if you're going to say you're in the Progressive Caucus and then you're going to not support progressive policies, then you need to be called out.
It's not only that, but if you supporting Medicare for All is also fiscally conservative. It is. It eliminates a significant, ungodly amount. Eliminates medical waste.
You're just focusing on Medicare for All. I'm talking in general.
Well, in general, yes, but this is
these other progressive
But this
policies?
is really the opportunity to put their backs to the wall and say, listen, is this about a career or do you really want to serve? You gotta show your hand.
As you guys know, generational change is all about transforming politics into service, which is what we're about.
Sure.
And part of that is going to be holding these people accountable. These are our employees.
Right.
People understand that. These are our employees. Dianne Feinstein isn't some person sitting on a pedestal. That's our employee. She makes a lot of money for a really long time at our expense, has very good benefits and healthcare, and will have a pension for whatever the rest of her life is. And yet this person can't see fit to support what we need to keep ourselves out of a climate crisis.
Yeah.
So this is what we're dealing with. And, these people are definitely impeding progress. So I want to get a list. I'm going to get a list by next week. I will have a list of the members of the Progressive Caucus because I'm very curious to see who that is. But yeah. And maybe you should have to earn that. Maybe the only way you should be able to qualify for the Progressive Caucus is if you voted X amount of ways for X amount of votes.
Personally, I think the only way you should be able to be in the Progressive Caucus is if you refuse corporate special interest money. If you take it, you are not allowed in, and that's the rule.
Yeah.
That's the easiest way.
It's just
so.
Yeah. So,
with that said, great show. You guys, thanks for tuning in. And the interview podcast with Rose McGowan will be available soon. Obviously, it's always good when you can kind of do something on the fly, surprise. Sorry, we weren't able to promote it, but I kind of like the way
I just want to say something because Riley's right. And it's rhetoric versus policy. And that's what I kept going back to every single time last night, because I am not about people and I am not about the party. Not at all. I'm about policy. I'm about there are certain things that need to happen for us to be a functioning republic.
You have to be policy over party. If you're not, then the party will always. This is what certain people like a Jimmy Dore always says: the party will co-opt you if you think it's about the party.
Well, and that's why a lot of people are very skeptical of people like Nina or even somebody like me doing this as a Democrat. And I do understand that. However, that being said, I understand skepticism and I do understand making people accountable, very much so.
Yes.
But that being said, right now where we are in a lot of states that is the only way in. And when you have somebody that's like a Nina Turner, we need to just support them because wherever she is going to be working on behalf of regular people.
Correct.
In whatever way that is. And that is someone who cannot be compromised.
No.
So there are not a lot of people where you would swear up and down that they can't be compromised, because even the best intended people we know can
and she's had many opportunities. Yeah. And let me tell you,
this is somebody who cannot be compromised.
I mean, Nina's, like I said, Nina's the best of us. And I just remember times like during the primary where she would literally allow these woke, like Hillary Rosen, who would go on TV and literally throw racial epithets at her, and she would not. She wouldn't budge.
That was she almost lost it with her.
Yes.
This was the woman who basically told Nina that she didn't have the right to quote Dr. King.
Yeah, it's like...
So white Karen is telling Nina Turner that she doesn't have the standing. That was the word. She doesn't have the standing to quote Dr. King. The look on Nina's face.
Yeah, like
I almost got to find that clip to show you the look on her face, because I feel like it was a moment, like most parents know this moment, where it's all you can do to not reach out and kill somebody.
Yeah.
Right. And you're doing your best. Oh my God. I wanted to strangle her. It was hilarious.
Nina would have, Nina would throw down, and Nina would literally have like pounded that woman into the ground. And the truth is, a lot of these people kind of do need to be pounded into the ground.
Well, and that's the thing. I'm not a proponent of violence, but the truth is some people need an ass kicking. Yeah. We know people locally that definitely need an ass kicking.
Well, she is a congresswoman somehow, some way, but you could pick her up by her hair.
I'm not even talking about her.
Oh, there's other people.
I was thinking
don't
about
talk about
boys.
Who. Oh, well, boys too.
I was thinking about boys.
All right. Well,
boys that need an ass kicking.
Anyway, thanks for tuning in. And remember, like the video, share it, comment on it if you can. Check out all the other podcasts that we've put forward. We've got a lot of great episodes.
The garden tomorrow.
Yes, definitely. We are slowly but surely getting this thing organized, but we are going to be turning it into an actual organization.
It is technically, we are now officially a state, and we're an incorporated nonprofit in the state of Florida, and we do have an EIN, which is very exciting for me because I couldn't get one for Gen Change. But so we are in the process, people. We are in the process, but if you are local, come out, get involved, and it'll be great. It's fun. And especially when it's so nice out. If you ever had any interest in working like in the garden, now is the time, because in a few months, you won't be seeing me there. I go into hibernation basically between like April and November. I go indoors.
Well, when it gets to be 90 and humid as hell, that's a problem. But hey, that's Florida, baby.
All right. Bye, guys.
Good night.